Hello. This is part 6 of the Meditations by Marcus Aurelius. Or Book 6, as the title says. Section 1. The parts of the whole are docile and adaptable, and in the reason that rules these parts, there exists not the least motive or cause to do wrong. For reason itself contains no evil, makes no mistakes, and inflicts no harm on anything. But as reason dictates, all things come into being and accomplish their appointed ends. Section 2. Do your duty, and never mind whether you are shivering or warm, sleeping on your feet or in your bed, hearing yourself slandered or praised, dying, or doing something else. Yes, even dying is an act of life, and should be done, like everything else, to the best of your abilities. Section 3. Look into the heart of the matter. Don't let the essential character or intrinsic worth of anything escape you. Section 4. All material elements are soon transformed, either consumed by fire, if all energy is conserved, or broken into their atoms. Section 5. The sovereign reason knows its own mind, comprehends its work, and understands the material with which it works. Part 6. The best revenge is not to do as they do. Part 7. Let this be your one joy and delight, to go from one act of kindness to another with your mind fixed on God. Section 8. The governing part of the soul is alert to all things, adapts to all things, takes whatever form it fancies, and clothes what lies outside itself in any fashion it chooses. Part 9. Every part of the whole conforms to the nature of the whole, and serves the purpose of the whole. This cannot be accomplished if some other nature, either external or internal or existing independently, governs the parts. Section 10. The world is either a mindless binding and loosing of atoms, or the unity and order of providence. If I accept the first scenario, why am I so eager to prolong my days in a body formed by accident and in a world governed by chance? What is the point and purpose of living in such a world other than someday to become dust? And why should even that consideration bother me? All considerations will be atomized anyway. But if the other scenario is true, I worship calmly and confidently the power that rules. Section 11. When you're feeling overwhelmed and confused by the evil in your circumstances or the attacks of your enemies, fall back at once into yourself, while not losing contact with the forces pressing down on you. By thus keeping yourself in harmony with your own nature, you will not only find refreshment, but be prepared to win the field. Part 12. If you had both a stepmother and a mother, you would treat your stepmother with respect, but is your mother to whom you would return again and again. This describes your relationship with the court and with philosophy. Never tire of returning to philosophy and of renewing yourself in her. She makes your life at court more bearable, while making you less objectionable to the court. Part 13. Look at fine cuisine and other niceties this way. Here is the corpse of a fish. There the dead body of a bird or pig. This bottle of vintage Falernian is just grape juice, and that regal robe is only the wool of a lamb soaked in the blood of a shellfish. What about sexual intercourse? This is the rubbing together of groins and the ejaculation of a sticky liquid accompanied by a spasm. Factual descriptions like these penetrate the heart of the matter and allow you to see things for what they are. Practice this method of observation throughout your life, and whenever something makes ambitious claims for itself, lay those claims bare by stripping away all the fancy dress and exposing the naked facts. For vanity is the supreme sophist, and when you flatter yourself that you are engaged in some good or worthy enterprise, then you are most easily deceived. Remember what Crates said about no less notable than Xenocrates. Section 14. The common sort of person is apt to admire natural objects that fall into one of two broad categories. Inanimate objects like wood and stone, or plant life like figs, vines, and olives. The slightly more discerning will admire living creatures like flocks and herds, while the even more refined will prefer products of rational endeavor. Not reason itself, mind you, but the effects of reason, like the works of artists and craftsmen, or the management of a great estate. But the man who puts reason first in order to pursue social and universal ends disregards the rest. He guards his soul by striving to be reasonable in his thoughts and sociable in his actions, and by forming common cause with others who would do the same. Section 15. Some things are impatient to be born, while others are in a hurry to die. And even some part of what is just being born is dying or dead already. As the uninterrupted flow of time replenishes the vast cistern of eternity, so flux and change continually renew the world. In this swollen river, with nothing solid on which to stand, how is a man to know which of the things swirling past him deserve his attention? It is like asking him to win the love of a sparrow that flits past and is already out of sight. That's life. Steam rising from the blood, air escaping from the lungs. Just as you draw your breath this moment from the same air into which you will soon release it, so it is with your entire respiratory system. You acquired it yesterday, or the day before, from the same source to which you will return it to tomorrow. Section 16. What then deserves our attention, invites our admiration? Surely not the life we have in common with plants, or the breath we share with cattle and wild beasts. Not the impressions we receive through our senses, or the desires that have us dancing on strings. Not the need to live in herds or to feed ourselves, a bodily function on the same level as defecating. What then? The clapping of hands? No, and not men's praise either, for praise is merely a clapping of tongues. But without glory and honor, what's left? Just this. To act or not to act according to the needs and dictates of your own constitution. This is the same guiding principle we find in every art and technology, the aim of which is to perform precisely the task for which it was created. This aim is no different for the wine dresser, the horse breaker, and the dog trainer. What other aim could there be for the art of raising children, or the technique of teaching them? This, then, is what deserves your attention. Attend to this, and nothing else will matter. But what if you continue to hanker after other things as well? Then don't expect to be free or fulfilled or content. Instead, you will be haunted by fear and envy, suspicious of those who might rob you of what you have and scheming against those who have what you want. In short, the man who wants something else will be filled with turmoil and probably end up blaming the gods. But if you respect and honor the dictates of your own constitution, you will be at peace with yourself, in sweet accord with your fellow man, and in harmony with the gods, pleased with whatever they have arranged and ordained. Part 17. The elements appear to move upward or downward or in circles, but the motion of virtue is nothing like this. More divine somehow, virtue advances in ways difficult to measure or discern. Part 18. This is what they do. They refuse to be generous in their opinions of their neighbors and contemporaries. But at the same time, they want to be held in the highest esteem by those who aren't born yet. Yes, even by those whom they have never seen and never will see. It comes pretty close to complaining because your ancestors failed to sing your praises. Part 19. Just because you find the work too hard to do, don't leap to the conclusion that it is humanly impossible. But if the work can and should be done by a man, then consider yourself capable of doing it. Part 20. If someone accidentally scratches us with his nails or butts us with his head when we're working out in the gym, we don't make a fuss or strike back in anger or suspect him of intending to do us future harm. At the same time, we'll probably give him a wide berth, not out of hostility or suspicion, but with a good-natured circumspection. Apply this principle outside the gym and cut life's sparring partners some slack. You can always avoid them, as I said, without suspecting or hating them. Part 21. Persuade me, or prove to me that I am mistaken in thought or deed, and I will gladly change. For it is the truth I seek, and the truth never harmed anyone. Harm comes from persisting in error and clinging to ignorance. Part 22. I do what is expected of me, and let nothing get in my way, neither the inanimate, nor the irrational, nor the hopelessly lost. Part 23. You possess reason. So use dumb animals and material objects as a reasonable man should, with a generous and free spirit. With other reasonable men be a good neighbor, and in all things pray for God's guidance without worrying about how long it takes. Even 3 hours in prayer is worth it. Part 24. Death brought Alexander of Macedon and his stable boy to the same end. Either they returned to the great womb from which all things are born, or they disintegrated and scattered into indistinguishable atoms. Part 25. Reflect on how much is happening at any given moment in the mental and physical parts of each individual, and you will not wonder at how much more is happening within the same sliver of time in that one boundless whole we call the universe. Part 26. Suppose someone asks, "How do you spell Antonius?" Will you shout out each letter? And if this makes him angry, will you be angry with him in return? Won't you spell the name calmly instead, saying the letters in the right order one by one? Just so, on this earth, each task is accomplished by following certain steps. You must know and reverence those steps without becoming agitated or striking out at those who oppose you, and in this way proceed methodically towards your goal. Part 27. Is it not a heartless thing to prevent others from doing what they think is in their own best interests? Yet you do precisely this when you become upset with them for their wrongdoing. After all, what you would forbid as wrong, they believe to be in their interest and to their advantage. But they are mistaken. Fine. Then teach them where their true interests lie, but don't fume, and fuss and fret. Part 28. Death frees us from a feigning of our senses, the tyranny of our passions, the vagaries of thought, the bondage of desire. Part 29. How shameful and absurd it is for the spirit to surrender when the body is able to fight on. Part 30. Don't be a Caesar, drunk with power and self-importance. It happens all too easily. Keep yourself simple, good, pure, sincere, natural, just, God-fearing, kind, affectionate, and devoted to your duty. Strive to be the man your training in philosophy prepared you to be. Fear God, serve mankind. Life is short. The only good fruit to be harvested in this earthly realm requires a pious disposition and charitable behavior. In all things, show yourself to be the faithful student of Antonius, who never tired of living in a complete accord with reason, acting with moderation in all occasions, controlling even the expressions on his face. Be worthy of his sweetness and devotion, his indifference to praise, his love of putting things in order. Remember how he never abandoned a subject until he had studied it in depth and understood it thoroughly. How he put up with unjustified accusations without saying a word. How he never acted in haste or listened to slander. How he weighed carefully a man's character and actions. How he was never spiteful, craven, suspicious, or pedantic. How simple were his tastes and spare his needs in lodging and bed and dress and food and service. And how he loved hard work and bore the inconveniences and irritations of life with inexhaustible patience. Oh, what a man he was! He could work in one place from morning till night, without pausing for nourishment or rest, and without relieving himself before the usual hour. He was a loyal and steadfast friend, who encouraged plain-spoken disagreement with his opinions and delighted in being shown a better way. Finally, he was devout without being in the least superstitious. Remember all this so that in your final hour you too can depart this life with as clear a conscience as his. Part 31. Come round. Put yourself together. Wake up. Admit that what's troubling you are dreams, the products of a lively imagination. Start to see things for what they are again. Part 32. I am a mind and a body. To my body, all things are indifferent, since it has no power in itself to discern or influence them. To my mind, all things are likewise indifferent, except for those things of which the mind is conscious. Even among those few things, it is concerned only with the present, being at this moment indifferent to whatever it acted upon in the past or will act upon in the future. Part 33. A pain in the hand or in the foot is not contrary to nature, so long as it is acquired while the foot is performing the function of feet and the hand is doing the work of hands. By the same token, human suffering is not contrary to nature so long as it arises out of human toil and endeavor. And if it is not contrary to nature, how can suffering then be bad for us? Part 34. What manifold pleasures titillate pirates, playboys, parricides, and potentates. Part 35. Look at the experts. Each practices a science or an art, with its own standards and principles which refuses to relinquish, even if he must compromise them on occasion to explain himself or adapt his practice to the non-expert. What a shame that the architect and the physician show more allegiance to their principles and standards of their craft than men do to those principles and standards of right thought and action which they share with the gods. Part 36. In the great universe, Asia and Europe are but small corners, the ocean a drop of water, Mount Athos a handful of dirt, all of modern times a heartbeat in eternity. Everything in this life is infinitesimal, unstable and fleeting. It all has one source and flows from one universal spring, either directly or by secondary and tertiary streams. even the lion's gaping maw, deadly poison, every harmful and hideous thing you can imagine, whether a thorn or a pestilential swamp, originates from one good and beautiful source. Don't get the idea that this has nothing to do with the one you worship. Reflect instead on the gushing fount from which all things flow. 37. If you have seen the present, you have seen everything that was and all that will be, world without end, for it all rises from the same source and takes the same form. Part 38. Take time to meditate on the interdependency of everything in the universe, how all things embrace one another as if they were dear friends, how they defer to one another and form a sweet accord in obedience to the laws of nature. 39. Live in harmony with everything about you and love, without reservations or conditions, those with whom you live and work. 40. Part 40. The manufacturer doesn't need to be present for his machine, instrument, or tool to be used properly. He is, so to speak, outside and apart from it. The same cannot be said of nature and its products. The creative force is a part of everything it produces. This should cause us to reverence nature all the more, as well as to realize that by thinking and acting in accord with nature's design and will, we tap into the mind of this creative force. The cosmic mind is as much a part of us, then, as it is of the universe, and all the power and knowledge available in the universe are accessible to the man who lives in perfect harmony with nature. Part 41. If you consider things outside your control as good or bad, then whenever something bad happens or something good fails to materialize, you blame the gods or are angry with men because they are, or could be, or someday might be responsible for the presence of some evil or the absence of some good. This sort of thinking breeds injustice. If, on the other hand, you think only of those things under your control as good or bad, then you will have no cause to find fault with God and no reason to quarrel with others. Part 42. All of us are working together toward one great end, some knowingly and purposefully, others blindly. I think it was Heraclitus who said that even in our sleep we labor to build the world. Everyone participates in his own way, critics included, as well as those who dig in their heels and imagine they are resisting change. The world needs us all. So choose your side. But know this, whatever side you choose, the one who governs all will know perfectly well how to put you to good use and position you amongst his workers. Be sure, in this great drama, to be more than a throwaway line or a coarse jest. Part 43. Does the sun aspire to do the rain's work, or Asclepius the job of a fertility goddess? Are the stars not all different, yet all cooperating to the same end? Part 44. If the gods had a hand in designing my fate, they did well. It is hard to imagine a malevolent god. Why would they harm me anyway? How could hurting me serve the interests of the universe, their primary concern? Yet, even if they had nothing to do with my particular fate, they certainly shaped the universe, and I am bound to accept and respect their handiwork. To think other than this would be impious, and in that case, we might just as well do away with sacrifices, prayers, and oaths, and all the other religious observances we perform, believing that the gods are present and interested in us. But suppose, just for the sake of argument, the gods are indifferent to our fate as well as to the fate of the universe. I am still here, and I must still consider my own interest. What is that interest unless it is to conform to my nature and obey the laws of my being? These things I can know about my nature and the law governing it, that I can reason, and that I cannot exist alone without the company and cooperation of others. As Antonius, my city and my country is Rome. As a man, the world is my home. Whatever improves and benefits these is good for me. Part 45. Whatever happens to a particular individual is good for society as a whole. Not only this, but if you look closely, you will see that what is good for one benefits others as well. To understand this, you must think of good in utilitarian rather than in moral terms. Part 46. Just as circus games and other popular entertainments offer the same tedious scenes over and over, so it is with life. An appalling sameness, a tiresome round of cause and effect. When will it ever end? Part 47. Think continually of those who are dead, men of all kinds, classes, and vocations, down to houseboys like Philistine, Phoebus, and Organian. Read down the endless list on which our names too will soon appear beside those of dazzling orators and sober philosophers, Heraclitus, Pythagoras, and Socrates, and along with the host of heroes before them, and the kings and captains who came after. To their ranks add Exodius, Hipparchus, Archimedes, and other noble names, penetrating intellects, indefatigable workers, impostors, bullies, and those, like Menipus and his kind, who laugh and joke about the littleness of life and the shortness of breath. Think of it. All of these men laid to rest so long ago. What did they, and all those we've never heard of, hope to win from this life? Life's one prize in seeking truth and doing justice and being charitable even to those who lie and cheat. Part 48. When your spirits need a lift, think of the virtues and talents of those around you. One's energy, another's modesty, the generosity of a third, something else in a fourth. Nothing is so inspiring or uplifting as the sight of these splendid qualities in our friends. Keep them always in mind. 49. Are you unhappy with what you weigh? Would you like to be fatter, say, 300 pounds? No? Then why do you want to add to the length of your life? Be content with what you have. Part 50. Try to persuade others and bring them along, but act, whether they like it or not, whenever reason or justice demands. If they throw up barriers or use force to stop you, remain calm and welcome their opposition as an opportunity to practice the virtues of patience and self-control. Remember that your abilities to reason and to discern right from wrong are not infallible, and you are not called upon to do the impossible. What is expected from you? The very actions you have taken. By taking them, you have reached your goal and achieved your purpose. Know that, in time, those things towards which we move come to be. 51. The happiness of those who want to be popular depends on others. The happiness of those who seek pleasure fluctuates with moods outside their control. But the happiness of the wise grows out of their own free acts. 52. You always own the option of having no opinion. There is never any need to get worked up or to trouble your soul about things you can't control. These things are not asking to be judged by you. Leave them alone. Part 53. Learn to concentrate on what those around you are saying. Enter as deeply as possible into the mind of each speaker. Part 54. What is useless for the hive is of no use to the bee. 55. If sailors won't listen to the ship's captain, or patients to their doctor, who will bring the ship into safe haven, or heal the sick? 56. Imagine among all of those with whom I came into this world, how many have already left it. Part 57. Honey tastes bitter to people with jaundice. Those infected by rabies are overcome by fear. And to little boys, a ball is a priceless treasure. So why do I lose my temper? Do errors in judgment exercise any less control over us than bile in the jaundiced or virus in the rabied? Part 58. No one can stop you from obeying the laws of your being, and nothing will happen to you that nature does not approve. Part 59. Who are we trying to please? What do we hope to gain? What are we willing to put ourselves through for it? Yet all trace of this is soon rubbed out by time. How much memory has time already erased? Okay. Let me go over some of these. Okay, so beginning with the very first one. The parts of the whole are docile and adaptable. That is, the world is flexible, movable. We are not in a existence of iron and steel and rods and cables where you must do this and this and this and this in this exact order or else nothing will work. We don't have a society where you are born into a class and you stay in that class and you act in a certain way no matter what. We forgive people, we understand people, we move around, we have complex relationships with our family and our friends. We ourselves are beings which change and move. 4 legs in the morning, 2 in the afternoon, 3 at night. Sort of bit like the riddle of the Sphinx. Human beings change. The course of rivers change. The walls of a city slowly change. The rules of a city slowly change. And we find these scary often, right? Oh my gosh, my body is changing. Oh my gosh, I'm becoming older and weaker. Oh my gosh, I'm looking at a pretty girl. I'm feeling very strange. Oh my gosh, the country is falling apart. The young are not as gallant or brave or as hardworking as their elders. The laws are changed. People accept things they did not before and dislike things they did like before. Fashions go in and out of focus. Today, the walls of the city are high. Tomorrow, they are low. Rome stands forever. Rome falls tomorrow. And we can look at this as a horrible evil. Oh my gosh, how terrible this is. How horrible the event. We've lost so much. We are less strong. We are less focused. We are less directed. We're less capable. But just because we have lost from before, just because something has changed, does not mean we haven't gained in another way. Change. He's trying to say, don't see change as bad. See change as something that happens. And reason itself contains no evil, makes no mistakes, and it effects no harm on anything. We are people in the world, and we are harmed. We contain evil. We make mistakes. But reason does not. That is the laws and powers and directives of the universe itself. Everything may fade and die one day, but that is simply the way of things. There's no good or evil to be found. It's about It's like the beginnings of science, right? Yes, you can learn to do horrible things. You create gunpowder and dynamite, guns, and with that gunpowder or dynamite, is a gun itself evil? Is dynamite itself evil? It is a power. It is an ability. It is what happens when we understand the reason of the world and are able to utilize it. For Marcus Aurelius, reason is internal. Reason is mastering ourselves, and if we can master ourselves, and even the impossible is very difficult. As he mentioned in 19, right? Just because you find the work too hard to do, don't leap to the conclusion that it is humanly impossible. If the work can and should be done by a man, then consider yourself capable of doing it, right? So, don't think is this impossible or not. Don't think is this difficult. Don't think is this hard. Don't think am I too weak to do this. Think of, is this possible? Is this according to the laws of nature? Could 10,000 men do this? Could 10,000 men raise a pyramid? Then I can do it. So as reason dictates, all things come into being and accomplish their appointed ends. Change means that you see something happen and see it have an effect, and the effect goes on, the thing itself changes. Again, and it fades and dies. As a person, as a human being, we stand here and make words, we raise children, we raise the walls of the city, we pass laws, we grow crops, and eventually our name will be forgotten, but our actions will not. Right? Our actions infect reason, our actions are part of the reason of the world and go on beyond us. The rabbit I saved today from a trap goes on to have 10 billion offspring. The butterfly who moves one way instead of the other when he encounters me causes a storm in the Pacific 7 months later, or not. And look around you. Marcus Aurelius lives in a day where death is much closer than it is to us. He would have known people dying every day. It's a very dangerous world filled with illness and struggle and war at his very doorstep. And he knows that he is going to end. He knows that the empire is having troubles and that after him it's not going to be very well. But he can still do his part, and he can hope that it turns out better. He says, as long as I exercise reason, as long as I go along with the world, then at least I am taking part in this grand endeavor. Who knows where it leads? I'm going to trust the gods. I'm going to trust in reason. I'm going to trust the one. I'm going to trust nature. He's like, because what I can do is I can struggle against it. I can fight. I can say, no, no, no. I do not obey the dictates of reason. I will find joy in short pleasures, or I will try and stop the tide. But you cannot stop the tide. His reason tells him that he cannot stop the tide. His reason tells him that indulging himself in pleasures means that he is not going to be happy someday. It means that his joy is reliant upon outside forces, which means he is not in control of his own destiny, which means that by trying to seek pleasure for himself, he ends up running into displeasure for himself. And he must have known hundreds of young people just like him growing up, in the same circles he did in imperial Rome, who indulged in wine and horse races and gambling. And I think any person would look at that and go, oh, look at all these people they're happy, they're excited, their lives are so full of interesting events, and then you hang out with them for a little while and you realize, oh, the compulsive gambler has a problem. Oh, he's really fun when he's got wine in him, but the next day it's a headache. And all of a sudden, instead of a wise and happy life, he sees it as a life of ups and downs and How many people do you think he saw whose lives were ruined by drink? So 6, he says, the best revenge is not to do as they do. Right? This is a saying I've heard before in various ways. The best revenge is a life lived well. Does someone hate you? Does someone despise you? Has someone done evil to you? Did your parents mess you up? Did bullies go after you in the playground? Did your boss mock you today? Did someone cut you off on the street when you were driving? Were you insulted by a news article? Did someone call you a name? Well, then how do you take revenge on them? What do you do? I mean, of course you can go up and you can get angry and mad, right? And of course you can yell at somebody, you can scream at them, you can try and hurt them. But what does this do? It means they hurt you in return, and somebody cut you off. I'm going to cut somebody else off now. And the chain of screaming just goes down the corporate ladder. It goes all the way around. I think it feels good to get revenge on your detractors. But how when you feel that you've made it, right? Like if you are some kid and a teacher tells you you'll never amount to anything, what's the best way to revenge that? What's the best way to feel yourself that you have overthrown the teacher's prophecy? It is to live a life well. It is to say, no, I have made something of myself. I am content with what I am, or I have achieved some greatness in a way. Do people tell you to get angry about that? Do people tell you that you are to blame for something? Well, don't do as they do. Because think of it like memes, right? Memes are living ideas, and the way I see it at least, right? Certain memes infect you. Right? If you are a kid and your parents beat you as a kid, you are more likely to beat your own kids. Because you've intaken this lesson. And oh my gosh, now I'm going to gain power by repeating the actions of somebody else towards me. I'm going to repeat those actions. I'm going to do it towards somebody else. And thereby I become my father by paddling my own kid. And therefore take revenge on him by doing it to somebody else, right? Because I'm not the kid who got paddled anymore. I'm not embarrassed about it. I'm not scarred. I'm not ashamed. I didn't do anything. Instead, I am the one who paddles. I am the boss. This happened. This is like, fight your enemy long enough and you'll become them. I will never be like that. But you slowly move and become like them. Right? Do you hate people spying on you? Well, you begin looking out on the world. You begin putting cameras up around your house. You begin thinking, oh my gosh, who is following me? Who is stalking my emails? What is going to happen to me if I don't look out for myself? And that is an effective meme, right? The story is be mad, be angry. The story is do this. The story is live like that. Hey, dude, take these drugs. Or hey, you, dude, we be like one of the gang, be like one of us, and make the same racist jokes, or make the same sexist wisecracks, and become one with us. Join in, indicate how you are part of the group, and be accepted. Give up your own individuality. It's like no, the best revenge is not to do as they do. The best revenge is to say, I was suddenly upset by that. Yes, but instead of striking back, I'm going to turn the other way. I do not mean turn the other cheek. I don't mean, accept being slapped in the face by someone. I simply mean that because someone slaps you doesn't mean you have to slap them. There are better ways to get revenge. Don't allow yourself to become the people you hate. Find some more balanced and interesting way to slap back, as it were. So 10 is interesting. This is to deal with fate and order. The world is either a mindless binding and loosing of atoms or the unity and order of providence. Either we live in a world which is nihilistic, totally random. There's no point to anything. The universe happens, then things happen, and it's all random. And I might have an aneurysm. Atoms go around. There's no laws or rules. You can't tell me that there's a true meaning in the world. Everything is illusions and lies, and it all comes to no end. And the sparks go out in the dark. We end up with heat death. Or, he says, it's the unity and order of providence. There's a reason the world exists. We are going somewhere. We are doing something. There is a hope which we can grab and hold on to in a better world and in a cause and an end. And that we become part of the great circle of life. And it is a circle, not a simple ordering of events, all randomly accidental. No. There is a sun, there is a moon, there's a tide going in and out and in and out, and all these days continue for a reason, to something, even if we don't know what it is. Right? Either there are rules in the world or there are not. And if you and he's saying, okay, if I accept the first scenario, why am I so eager to prolong my days in a body formed by accident and in a world governed by chance? If you have a nihilistic viewpoint, and this is way before nihilism is a word, right? If you have a nihilistic viewpoint, there's no point to anything. It's all random. We're going to die in the end. Life is pain and suffering. And Aurelius has definitely shown his viewpoint that life on the whole is often pain and suffering. Then what's the point of staying alive, right? I'm not doing anything. I may as well go out in a blaze of the greatest pleasure I can find. Like I'm gonna bury my face in some sort of drug and experience ego death 2 seconds before I experience actual death. Instead, he's saying that we plod on, we exist, we live and live and live, because he finds more happiness in his own reason and the exercise of his own reason, than in blazing like a fire and going out for no reason. Now, what is the point and purpose of living in such a world other than to someday become dust? Nihilistic, again, what's the point if everything fades and everything is forgotten and my name is not important and all the powers I have are gone, all the walls I raised disappear, the entirety of Rome, which I've spent my life guarding and assisting and helping and ruling, is nothing and fades, and its descendants become nothing, and it's all dust and dread. It says, well, why should that consideration bother me? So what? Right? There's no point. We live in the present. We live in now. And maybe there is no point. Maybe Rome is doomed. Maybe his bloodline is failing. Maybe the entirety of his people go unto the west and sit forever in the undying lands, never changing. But until then, he's alive. Until then, there is today, and there is the reason of the world, and there is the duty he has accepted. And there is wisdom and happiness still to be found. There is understanding which you can achieve of other people and of the providence of nature. If it all fades to dust in the end, then that is not so bad. At least the end is not here now. It says, all considerations will soon be atomized anyway, but if the other scenario is true, I worship calmly and confidently the power that rules. Right? Hey, maybe he's wrong. Maybe the world is not nihilistic and there's a point and a reason to this. And if so, he may as well sit there and calmly continue on his way, calmly continue his path without being so wrapped up in these worries. And that's really what he's going on about here, I think. My interpretation. Right? Yeah, life sucks. Everything turns to dust. You die and there's nothing afterwards. But how does that affect the ways in which I should live my life today? Right? Should I go out in some nihilistic search for pure happiness? Why do that when I can achieve happiness by following the dictates of my reason, by being clear in my conscience, by slowly and methodically, worshipping and living? Just because the world's nihilistic doesn't mean that I live my life as if the end had already come. The end's not here yet. And maybe I'm wrong. So in either case, it's live your life calmly, completely, reasonably, honestly, true to the dictates of your own nature, unruled by others. Whether the world ends or the world is the result of providence, it makes no difference in how I act. It makes no difference in how to achieve happiness while I am here. And, 11. When you're feeling overwhelmed and confused with the evil in your circumstances or the attacks of your enemies, fall back at once into yourself, while not losing contact with the forces pressing down on you. By thus keeping yourself in harmony with your own nature, you will not only find refreshment, but also be prepared to win the field. Look, life sucks sometimes, and you're sitting there and people are blaming you for something. People are telling you you're wrong. People are saying that you should do this or you should do that. People are saying that you need to save money, you need to do your duty, you need to take care of your siblings, you need to get a job, you need to wash the car, you need to take out the trash, you need to paint, you need to feel comfortable with yourself, you need to go party, you need to go touch grass, you need to play a game once in a while, you need to work hard, you need to do this project. It doesn't matter what it is or who you are, there is some person or group out there telling you, pressuring you, ordering you, suggesting, oh so kindly, that you should do their bidding. And what do? When you're just overwhelmed, confused by the evil that is your circumstance or the attack of your enemies. When life sucks, when people are screaming at you, how do you hold your center? How do you calmly and rationally face them and not freak out? Fall back on yourself. Be in harmony with your own nature. If I know who I am, then the world itself may be wreathed in chaos and fire and filled with a rain of poison or lakes of acid and floods of ruin. There may be doubts and worries and attacks and ethical quandaries and scientific nihilistic threatening events and countries and presidents and money and all these issues. But if at least I know who I am, at least if I know my own nature, then I have one thing I can rely upon. I have one pillar to hold on to. I have one foundation to stand upon. I can say, I do not know everything. I'm not capable of everything. I do not understand everything, but at least I have myself. At least I have my own nature, and at least I know how I work and what I do and who I am. And if you can do that, then isn't that something, at least? Instead of feeling disassociated, instead of feeling like you can't do anything, look, the devil may be whipping you with a cat o' nine tails. You may be being burned alive at the stake. The media is castigating you. Your family is turning away from you. Somebody throws eggs at your front door. And somebody you love dies. You lose your job. You fail in a duty and you can't keep your family, safe or in food. And I think it's easy for someone to go, I don't know who I am. I don't know what I'm doing. I don't know what I should do. And maybe I'll go and listen to somebody. Maybe I'll go and let me go read the Bible and it'll tell me what to do. Let me go talk to my guru. Let me go ask my friend. Let me just double. I know I'm supposed to get it. People tell me I'm supposed to get a job. So I'm just going to double down and get a job and make my wage and, start with that. But if you don't know who you are, then you're relying upon somebody else, someone to give you a job, a duty for you to fulfill, a victory you have to win, something you have to fix, a conversation you have to have. Well, first of all, have a conversation with yourself. Sit down, quiet, focus, and without ignoring the world, without meditating in such a way that you go, I hear nothing, I see nothing, I'm in the middle of nothing. No, instead, center, hold. I am me. I know what I need. And this reveals itself in actions. If I know that after 1 or 2 hours in a crowd that I need to go outside in a bit of quiet and focus, or I need to step outside in the middle of a tournament and spend just 3 or 4 minutes reciting a poem, focusing myself again. If I know that I need my 8 hours of sleep, if I know that I need to sometimes come on here and speak, if I know that, look, I need just give me like 3-4 minutes to think about this issue, then I'll reply. If I know that I do better if I take my time, if I know that I can say something and I have absolute confidence in myself that even if I say something wrong, I am able to take feedback and fix the issue. I'm able to take feedback and understand again, right? And if I know these things about myself and I have confidence in who and what I am, then the world cannot move me 1 iota that I do not wish to be moved, at least in this small way. For Aurelius, he says, never tire of returning to philosophy and of renewing yourself in her. She makes your life at court more bearable, while making you less objectionable to the court. So for Aurelius, it's philosophy. Right? Think about this book that we're reading here. It is notes he wrote himself. It is his own philosophical thoughts. And so he's saying that for him, when he's at court and people are demanding things of him, and people are praising him and being sycophants all the time, when he has all these troubles to deal with, and he has to moderate little arguments between courtiers, and he has to write laws and review the tax forms and deal with people who want something all the time, want something from him because he is the emperor. He gets angry, he gets mad, he gets frustrated. He sometimes wonders, why am I even doing this? I mean, could you imagine you go in and you try to fix the same problem 13 times? Like, okay, let me fix the tax rolls. And every year, okay, there's some different issue popping up here. We solved that problem, and now we have rebellion here. We solved that rebellion, we have the rebellion here. We solved the barbarian hordes attacking here, but they're going to attack in a different way, and then a different way, and then we make peace, but then the chieftain we made the peace with dies, and so the peace is broken, and oh my gosh, imagine all the things you have to deal with at work. Even you go to work sometimes, and you're just like, oh my, I have to the same stupid things. Corporate isn't putting enough money in this. Here's some rule I have to follow. I have to spend 30 minutes a day dealing with this one guest who is always pissed about something. And for Aurelius, he says, I need to focus on philosophy. When I'm feeling overwhelmed, when I'm being annoying and people are looking at me fearful, or I am upsetting people, focus back on philosophy. On wisdom. How should I act? Who should I be? Who am I? Who do I want to be? What is happiness? What is the meaning of life? And hey, that works. For other folk, they may not do that. For other folk, they unwind by watching a football game or reading a fantasy book. But for Aurelius, it is philosophy. And he knows himself. Okay, so 16. What deserves our attention and invites our admiration? Not the life we have in common with plants, the breath we share with cattle and wild beasts, not the impressions we receive through our senses or the desires that have us dancing on strings, not the need to live in herds and to feed ourselves, a bodily function on the same level as defecating. Okay. So what deserves our attention in life? What invites our admiration? What do we look at and we see, oh my gosh, that's awesome. I like that. I want to be like that. I want to learn from that. It's like, well, it's not just life. Not just, hey, I breathe, I eat and go to the bathroom and whatnot. Like any, rhino or cow or cat. It's not the impressions we receive through our senses. It's not the things I see. Not the artwork. It's not the music. Not the desires that have us dancing on string. It's not. I'm not looking at this going, oh my gosh, hunger is so awesome. The way that I feel when I look at a pretty person is so awesome. Like, okay, yeah, sure, that's nice, but is this what you should be devoting your attention to? Is this what invites our admiration? Mere sounds and voices and sights? He says, not the need to live in herds or to feed ourselves. Food is okay, but again, do we look at, oh my gosh, the way he eats shows me wisdom? Or is it the need to live in herds? The fact that I live in society, family, that's what's important to me. And he's saying, that's great, that's nice, but that's not what he thinks deserves our attention, invites our admiration. He's saying that these by themselves are bits of life, but there's something more. Something better. And it's not the clapping of hands. It's not praise. It's not men's praise either. And he says, well, without glory and honor, what's left? If we look at glory and honor, if we look at how we are received by the people around us, the accolades we get, the pride we have in who we are and what we get. Look how rich I am. Look how famous I am. But what's that? And he thinks that these aren't deserving our attention or invite our admiration, I think, because they fade, they go away. They are of outer source. They are the world telling us that the world is pretty, the world is beautiful, the world is great. I am famous. Well, what does famous actually mean? It means many other people know who I am. I have many accolades and much glory. That means many other people tell me that I'm great, or think of me as great. The life we have in common with plants, the breath we share. I live, I breathe, so does everybody else. They tell me that life itself is worth the living, and I'm like, why? The impressions received through our senses, the desires that have us dancing on strings. Food fills my stomach, and that feels great, but is it me filling myself up, my own spirit up, or is this just a bodily reaction to receiving nutrients? I'm looking at a pretty girl and I'm feeling really cool. Well, how much of that is just a bodily function? How much of that is, pretty girls as a category of people, as opposed to, this one specific person. He says, what's left? Just this, to act or not to act according to needs and dictates of your own constitution. Be yourself. At the very first thing you do for happiness is be yourself. You have your own happiness. You have your own reason. You have your own conscience. And what people call pretty is not what you need to see as beautiful. What people call good food is not what you need to think of as good food. What people call accolades and honor and praise is unimportant if you don't feel you deserve it. If you don't feel you deserve fame, then you sit there like an imposter. I don't deserve this. I shouldn't be getting this. I'm bad. Because other people tell me I'm good, but I don't think I am myself. But if you act according to the needs and dictates of your own conscience, of your own constitution, you don't need them. You don't need other people to tell you how pretty you look. You don't need pretty girls to fawn around you. You don't need folk telling you how smart and wise you are. You don't need to stand in front of a piece of art and go, yes, I see the artist did this and such, and it means this and this, and I think with reference to that, yes, I know I'm an art connoisseur, of course, and everyone agree, and all the people around you raise their glasses of wine. Oh yes, sir, yes, I see you have quite a discerning eye. What care them? If I can look at a stone or a rock and I can see the beauty in it, if I can see the wisdom in the smallest actions of a child playing in the yard, or I can look at a Picasso and see its wisdom and the work put into it and its messaging just as much as I do a Raphael or a statue or a book. Right? What is beauty anyway? Is it in the eyes? Is it in the ears? What is a beautiful painting and a beautiful piece of music and a beautiful piece of writing have in common? Me. That I perceive them as beautiful and great. It's not the beauty isn't in them. The beauty is in the eye of the beholder. And how shameful to pretend that I understand or I agree or I hold up someone else's standards as my own. Who cares what the world thinks is great? First of all, what do I think is great? What do I think is worth being great? What do I feel I should attend and hold my attention upon? What do I feel invites my admiration? What am I most admired by? Not what people tell me I should be admired by, but intrinsically myself. What calls out to me? What matches my reason? But instead of looking at pretty girls, what is the beautiful girl I'm looking at? Right? Why do I see that? Instead of looking at art, what is the art I like? Not the art that is popular. And instead of the food, I personally don't really like the taste of honey. But I really do enjoy the taste of pomegranates. And so I would prefer to eat some pomegranates instead of eating some honey. If pomegranates are seen as peasants' food for some reason or another, or cursed food or bad food, then I don't eat them because other people tell me that they're bad. It's like being vegetarian, And I'm vegetarian, but that doesn't mean that I'm saying that other people should be vegetarian, right? That doesn't mean that I'm sitting here going, well, you shouldn't eat meat. No, I'm saying that I don't like meat. I don't want to eat meat. And I'm not out here proselytizing. I'm just saying that that's who I am. That's how I find comfort in myself. This is an idea I admire. It says, attend to this and nothing else will matter. If I attend to my own constitution, if I intend to improving myself and being myself, and look, if I see something as beautiful, what if I think I'm paying attention to that? I admire the beauty in that. Let me make myself beautiful in a way as well. I admire the way people cook. Let me learn how to cook myself. I admire the art people make. Let me learn how to make art myself. Let me look at something, understand what I see in it, and then learn from that. Because, attend to this, nothing else will matter. But what if you continue to hanker after other things as well? Right? What if you are always after the next thing? Hey, I have a PlayStation 5. Well, I need an Xbox and a Switch as well. Hey, I have 3 stuffed animals. I need 30 stuffed animals. I only have 7 cinnamon rolls. I need another 8 cinnamon roll. I only have 1,000 books. I need 2,000 books. Right? I can create art. Well, I need to create better art. Right? And what if you're always after someone else, right? I have a girlfriend. I would like to meet other pretty girls. That's not going to end well, right? Because you can never be fulfilled, because there's never the one, there's never a focus, there's never you saying to yourself, how do I improve me? Instead, you're saying, let me find something else that makes me happy. Let me buy something. Let me learn something. Let me get a skill. And that'll make me happy. Let me achieve an accolade, and that will make me happy. Let me achieve an honor or a position or a job, and that will make me happy. But it won't. The man who always wants something else will be filled with turmoil and probably end up blaming the gods. But if you respect and honor the dictates of your own constitution, you will be at peace with yourself. In sweet accord with your fellow man, and harmony with the gods, pleased with whatever they have arranged and ordained. Instead, look for the source of happiness. Do you think buying the OLED Steam Deck will make you happy? Then you do. And you buy it and you play with it and you sit it down. And you pick it up a week later. It's not charged. You plug it in. A week later, you're like, okay, it's still plugged. It's still charged. Let me go and you sit down. You play a game for 10 minutes. Something else draws your attention. You go away. You find yourself selling the Switch or the Switch OLED or the Steam Deck OLED because you don't need it. Oh, you find yourself back on the computer 2 weeks later. I wonder how much Steam Deck OLEDs cost, or I wonder about this new Ghost Edition. And you know that buying this one thing isn't going to make you happy. You know that buying another emulator when you already have 7 isn't going to make you happy. You know that going on another date with someone who you aren't interested in isn't going to make you happy. You know that, hey, I got a promotion at my job, and now I have to aim for the next promotion and the next promotion and the next promotion. And then you're CEO and you're going, great, I'm a CEO and I've been CEO for 5 years and I need to go and do something else. Right? You're always in search of something. And, Aurelius's advice is, or the way I understand this advice at least, is what do you pay attention to? What do you admire? What are you sitting there thinking about and dreaming about? Is it money? Is it security? Is it love? Is it feeling full? Is it safety? Is it adventure? Right? What's the point? What are you doing? Why am I buying the gaming devices and then never playing the games? Why am I buying books and then never reading them? Or why am I standing up here talking about philosophy and yet not applying it to my own life? What am I doing? What do I pay attention to? And the way I interpret this is, it doesn't exactly tell you what to do, right? But let's apply a bit of reason, right? If I am constantly thinking about a specific person, or if I am constantly thinking about a specific feeling, or I'm constantly thinking about a specific artwork, or I'm constantly thinking about a specific philosophy or a specific idea or a specific book I want to write, then perhaps I should go chase after that one thing, because by chasing after that one thing, I will not be chasing after that thing. I will be chasing after myself. By writing the book that I really want to write, by going on the adventure I really want to have really want to involve myself in, by getting the job I really want to get. I am not getting the job or the girlfriend or having the adventure or winning the game. No, I am pursuing myself, my own conscience, my own constitution, thinking, what do I need to do to make me improve, to make me wise, to make me happy, to make me comfortable with who I am and what I am. Because if you aren't comfortable with yourself, then what could you possibly be comfortable with? I mean, you yourself are always there. And so if you find yourself, like me, unhappy, if you find yourself depressed for months or years on end, ask yourself, what do you pay attention to? What do you admire? It's not about what you want. It's about what is the image that flashes in your mind before you go to sleep. What is the memory that torments you? What is the desire you have? And if you have many desires, then what do they all have in common? You, yourself, me. And Aurelius is obviously suicidal in my reading. But what do you do to get out of that? You do whatever you have to. And sometimes that means some very strange activities. Aurelius finds meaning in his work, in being the emperor, in doing what he can to persist, in dealing with the troubles of life without becoming overwhelmed by them. I find it sort of interesting that at no point in these 6 books so far has he said, I could just leave. No point has he mentioned retirement. No point has he mentioned living like a monk. Because I think that's one option a lot of people have. I'm going to go live in the woods. I'm going to go buy a sailboat and sail around the world. I am going to retire. I am going to quit my job and focus on writing my book. I'm going to be an author. I'm going to go to music school. I'm going to give up on what I've been doing so far and try to escape. I'm going to become a monk. This is something people actually do. I'm going to become a monk because I'm trying to find contentment. And for some people, that works. You know, they live as a monk with the robes and the begging bowl, and they spend their days chanting, focusing, sweeping up, cleaning, you know, talking with the visitors about philosophy and meditating. They're happy. Other folk, that doesn't work. You know, meditation is calming and quieting and focusing, but it's not the point of my life. It's not the reason of my life. So perhaps that's the way to go about it. What is the reason of your life? In order to find your reason, look at your attention. Look at what you believe in and what you keep chasing after. What if you are constantly making mistakes, what do the mistakes have in common? What do you really want? Who are you? And it's not about what society tells you is right or wrong or good or bad or what you should or should not want. It's about yourself. Damn the rest of the world. It's about yourself first. And for Aurelius, his self is duty. His self is society. His self is the people he gets along with. His self is understanding the world he's in. But these are these are only, in my mind at least, reflections, means of finding your own self. Am I looking at a sports star? Am I trying to become a rap musician? Do I wish I was capable of starting my own business? Well, go out and do it. Because even if you fail, failing isn't the point. The point is trying. The point is answering your own consciousness. The point is being happy with yourself first. Once you're happy with yourself, you can figure it out. But if the world is a blessing and you were damned yourself, you ain't going anywhere. And if you yourself are a blessing, if your life and the way you follow your life has at some core a goodness, a reason, a purpose which matches you perfectly, then at least you have that. And no one can take it away from you. Okay, so 20. If someone accidentally scratches us with, if we're in gym and somebody accidentally runs into us, we're like, okay, sorry, I know you didn't mean it. That's okay. I'm not going to get angry at you. You know, oops, both. You know, don't gonna stand here. Oh my God, jackass! Look what the hell you're look what you're walking. You know, pay attention to the people around you. That's just gonna get you in trouble. That's gonna get you in a fight. They're gonna scream at you. You're gonna scream at them. It doesn't do any good. Instead, you know, say, look, hey, dude, watch where you're going. Don't run into me again. Sorry. It's fine. And you might look at the person and go, wow, they're clumsy, or they aren't really paying attention, or they said they're sorry, but they keep doing the same stupid thing. Hey, cut them some slack, realize they got a problem, and that they aren't necessarily out to get you. They're not doing evil. They're who they are. They live their life in their way. You know, does your neighbor like to mow the lawn at 2 a.m.? Hey, he's not doing that to wake you up from your sleep. That's who he is. Likes to mow the lawn at 2 a.m. And if you explain to him why he shouldn't do that and how much it upsets you, but he keeps doing it, well, that's not slack, right? But he says, you know, you can always avoid them, as I said, without suspecting or hating them. If you run into someone and you think they don't like you or you think they have a problem, walk away. You don't need to become involved with every issue you see. You don't need to be around people who cause you trouble and pain. You don't need to be there for the folk who can't get their lives together. You know, If you have a cousin who just keeps screwing up and screwing up and screwing up, and he's on drugs, then he's in rehab, then he's on the streets, then you get him a job, then he's on drugs again, and then he's in and out of jail, and then it goes on for 5, 10, 15 years, let him go. Walk away. You cannot control other people. But you can avoid them. You can say, I will not let you ruin my life. I will not let you cause troubles. I will not let you run into me accidentally. Not being malicious necessarily, but just being yourself. And sometimes yourself is bad. Sometimes yourself is dangerous. Sometimes yourself is emotionally unsteady. Or sometimes yourself is convinced that you can't be wrong. Or sometimes yourself is just focused in another way, right? I think that happens in relationships as well, right? Hey, sometimes two people are just aiming for different things. And that doesn't mean you hate each other. It doesn't mean trying to hurt each other. It just means you want different things in life. And so amicably part. Don't suspect or hate them, because by hating people, you just reflect that hate upon yourself. You just call out for anger and annoyance. Oh my God, Judy, Alan, and you keep complaining and complaining. Why bother? That doesn't change anything. It doesn't make anything better. Understand who they are. Understand who you are. And if you think that they aren't worth being around, don't be around them. Just walk away. So 21, persuade me or prove to me that I am mistaken in thought or deed, and I will gladly change. For it is the truth I seek, and the truth never harmed anyone. Harm comes from persisting in error and clinging to ignorance. So this is his belief that he is strong enough to deal with criticism, because it's not about him being right or wrong. It's about truth. It's about challenging himself to believe in and accord with truth and the reason of the universe and the reason of himself that matches that of the universe. And if he's mistaken, then that mistake is going to come back upon himself at some point. That mistake is going to bite him in the ass. That mistake is going to cause problems and cause him to be unhappy. So if he is making mistakes, if he is wrong, if he doesn't understand the true reality of this event, or of how to be happy, or what this means, then explain it to him. And he says, if I'm mistaken in thought or deed, I will change. And not more than change, I will gladly change, because I have a higher calling. I have truth. This is philosophy, right? I am wrong quite often. And I should take criticism joyfully, because this is a learning opportunity for me to be better. And if I am better, then I am happier. Am I angry all the time? Do people keep giving me bad advice? And no matter what happens, I'm still angry and angry. My life sucks. Then I am not listening to the correct advice. Then I am not truly understanding what is being told to me. It's my fault. Essentially, this is what Marcus Aurelius feels, right? If he is unhappy, it is his fault he is unhappy. Because the world may be full of pain and anger and struggles and problems, but no matter where you go, that is the case, right? Nobody's life is perfect. Everybody loses something. Everybody stubs their toe. Everybody has a bad back at some point. Even the folk who, were drinking it up and having a great time end up with a hangover, end up with a failing liver later in their life. It all comes back on you. So what can you do? Well, you can improve the one thing that is there no matter what. You can improve yourself, because you are always with you. And he says, just so, in 26, on this earth, each task is accomplished by following certain steps. You must know and reverence these steps without becoming agitated or striking out at those who oppose you, and in this way proceed methodically toward your goal. the story of the rabbit and the hare. The hare is fast and fast and fast, and he's going and going and going, and he's going to win the race, and then he stops. He takes a nap. He talks to, some chick on the sidelines. He starts dancing it up for the crowd. He finds an interesting rock and starts looking at it, meditating on the rock. Meanwhile, the tortoise, way back, still in the race, doesn't stop, doesn't halt, doesn't move fast, does not get distracted, just has his eye on the prize, eye on the goal, and keeps going and going and going. And who wins? The tortoise. Here's the hare may be fast, but he is also weak. He's also inconstant. It doesn't matter how fast you go in one movement, or how large your single step is. What matters is, do you continue making that step? Because life is long. It may end tomorrow, but life is a long time. And improvement is not measured in inches or feet. Improvement is measured in the spirit, which is strange and different. Besides, we can ask, does improvement ever really stop? Can I be perfect? If I can, then sure, run towards the end. Achieve your Zen state in an instant, and you're there, you're fine, you're done. You're just going to wait until you die and then become a Buddha. But if perfection is not possible, or no human is perfect, if we aren't gods, and we aren't egoless, if we are ourselves, and we are if we are our own reason, then what is happiness? Happiness is not how close you get to perfection. Happiness and purpose even is whether you are moving towards perfection at all times. Life, I said, is long. No. Life is short. Or maybe short. And if I die tomorrow, do I die happy or sad? Do I die like the hare because I haven't reached the goal, but I could if I wanted to? Or do I die like the tortoise? I haven't reached the goal, but I am going towards it. And I have a contentment in me, a happiness in me because I am continuing, because every day I am better and better and better. There's no regrets for the tortoise. The tortoise has no reason to regret if he dies today, because he did what he could to continue on his way. And there's nothing a human being can demand of the world more than that. You cannot expect to sit here and demand eternal life. You cannot expect to sit here and demand the world give you happiness, give you food, and throw gold into your lap and give you accolades because you accidentally invented something. No. You can't demand that. You don't know that's going to happen. All you can do is better yourself, because that's the only absolute control you have. That is the only absolute force you can trust in, is that reason inside yourself. 29, he says, how shameful and absurd it is for the spirit to surrender when the body is able to fight on. Who are we? Are we our flesh, our tongue? No, we are, for him, our mind, our spirit, our will. We are all doomed to fail. Everything we create is doomed to become dust. Our body will not last. Our name will be forgotten. But our will, our actions, our spirit, our choice lives on and affects the world. Am I stabbed through the heart right now? Hey, if I can raise my arm 2 inches, maybe I can save my shield brother's life. Am I sick and dying? If I can speak one more word, and even if I cannot, even if I am struggling and I can't move my tongue, I can't stand up, if at least I am trying, then he thinks you will die happy. He thinks you will die knowing that you did your best, and that doing your best, attempting to act, is the piece de resistance, right? It's the final bit. It's the star on the brow. It is the sunlight on the horizon. It is the goal. And in to reach the goal, you are already there if you are trying to reach the goal. The goal is the action. The goal is the attempt. And why is the goal the attempt? At becoming better, at understanding reason, at doing your duty? Because the spirit is the actual person. And spiritual journeys are not measured in inches. They are measured in movement. Okay. I'm flagging here. Okay, 36. In the great universe, Asia and Europe are small corners, the ocean a drop of water, Mount Athos a handful of dirt. The world is very small. The world is only a small part of the universe, only a small part. Our times are only a small part of the eternal time that goes on and on and on. And everything in this life is small, unstable, and fleeting. Nothing lasts. It has one source and flows from one universal spring, directly by secondary and tertiary streams. Everything fades, everything dies, but reason goes on. Things still exist. Events still happen. Life still persists in different forms and different shapes, and not even remembering all of this. But life persists. Rocks still fall from the sky. The sun burns. And when our sun goes out, a new sun will burn, and a new sun, and a new sun. For as long as the universe exists, for as long as reason is. He also says, the lion's gaping maw, deadly poison, every harmful and hideous thing you can imagine, originates from one good and beautiful source. Good and evil exist, but they come from the same place. The universe, all that is part of, he says, don't think of the idea that this has nothing to do with the one you worship. Reflect instead in the gushing fount from which all things flow. The one here, the ideal, the universe itself is not static, it is moving, it is changing, and it is also linked to every rock and tree you see. Every sword wound, every birthday cake is the same in some way. It holds a part of the spark of existence. And so Asia and Europe are but small corners of the world. Mount Athos is is dirt. The ocean is a drop of water, but it is a drop of water that is linked to the great fountain of all waters everywhere. Mount Athos is a pile of dirt, but it is a pile of dirt on the pile of dirt, which is the planet itself. Deadly poison and harmful lions who rend and tear and kill and destroy also renew and change. The poison of the asp arises from an egg where new life is born. And that egg of a snake has something in common with the egg of a chicken. The egg of a chicken has something in common with the child of a human being, and the child of a human being has something in common with the grown-up person, and so who is bitten by the asp, and so on and so on and so on. The world is linked together, and reason, he thinks, links it together. There is something to understand about the universe. Don't look at things as separate. Try to see how they coalesce, how they link together, how they work. How does great nature work? How does an ecosystem work? How does an ecosystem work with, rocks and lava and, comets falling from the sky, the burning of hydrogen, and how that affects chlorophyll in trees, which makes shade, which affect the person sleeping underneath the tree who is a poet who writes words, and those words talk about love and life and the sunlight. Don't look at something and don't look at anything in the world and say, I don't understand that, or that's ugly, or that's bad, that can't even be talked about, that is forbidden. No, nothing is forbidden, nothing is unlookable, nothing is forbidden, nothing is unlovable, nothing is unknowable, nothing is a mystery totally and completely. Everything touches one another. So 37. If you have seen the present, you have seen everything that was and all that will be. World without end, for it all rises from the same source and takes the same form. If all life is linked, then by living our lives today, we have seen that which is in common with all lives. I may not be here for the flying cars and the spaceships and the stargates, but I've been here for electronic bicycles. I've been here for planes. I've been here for carts and horses and walking and shoes and crawling. And is this all not travel in a different way? What's so different about walking from my house down the street to school versus the Jetsons in that cartoon, going by flying car to their floating schools and palaces and sprocket factories. It's all travel. And so can I write a poem that is about travel or about love or about hope? And then can that poem be read in 1,000 years or 10,000 years? And the person reading that poem feels some kinship with me. Because there's something about us, something eternal, something related. Can we understand alien poetry? I think that this bit says that we can. We could understand alien poetry because we live in the same world. We live in the same moment. If I can see you, I can understand you. If I can interact with you, then there is a piece of reason I can grasp. Yeah, that's what I get it. Don't be afraid that you'll miss everything. You've already seen a part of everything, for it all arises from this. The past is turned into the present turns into the future. And snails or dogs will still exist in one form or another, different colors, different shapes, 10,000 years from now. Humans will still exist, even if we turn into the Asgard or ascend like the ancients. there will still be a heart, a spirit in common, a way to communicate and understand and reason. There is nothing in the entire universe, for Marcus Aurelius, which we are not linked to and do not have a kinship with in some way. Okay, so 41, I think is interesting. It says, if you consider things outside your control as good or bad, and whenever something bad happens or something good fails to materialize, you blame the gods or angry with men, because they are or could be or somebody might be responsible for the presence of some evil, the absence of some good. Okay? If things outside my control are good or bad, then good or bad things happen to me. And I am either blessed or cursed by the universe and by people and how they act and what they are. If, on the other hand, you think only of those things under your control as good or bad, then you will have no cause to find fault with God and no reason to quarrel with others. If I only think of what I can control as good or bad, then everything else is just nature. Everything else just happens. Okay? Like, we don't think of gravity as good or bad. Gravity is just a part of the world. In the same way, he thinks we should not consider how others act as good or bad. That's just a part of the world. I cannot control how people act. He repeats this so many ways and so many times. I cannot control how people act. I cannot control what people believe. I cannot control what people say or think or do. I can only attempt to show them the error of their ways, and I can only control my actions, my beliefs, my voice, my attempts. So instead of wasting all this energy and effort by screaming at the world, be good, be bad, understand they have their reasons for doing their actions, and I have mine. And what can I control? What can I do? What can I fix? Mine. But it is not useful to judge good or bad actions of other folk. Oh my God, that was so smart. That was so dumb. Oh my gosh, why are they making the same mistakes? Oh my gosh, don't they see the world? Oh my gosh, look how wonderful this new idea is. Calm down. Don't be so concerned and overwrought and tempted to chase after what someone else says is good or bad. First, focus on yourself. If you're going to become worried about, is this the right thing to do? Should I donate to this charity or not? All right, it's a question for you yourself as the person, first of all. And I think this goes back to, being in tune with your own constitution. Don't accept what other people tell you is good or bad. Accept what you feel yourself is good or bad. You make the decisions. And trust in your decisions. Trust in your reasoning. And how do you trust in your reasoning? How do you demonstrate trust in your own reasoning and decisions? You allow others to challenge you. You stand clear. You stand here, raising a crystal pillar that pushes apart the earth and the sky. You stand upon your foundation and you say, I believe this and I have reason for believing this. And let anyone attempt to shift me from my path, I still believe in my good and my bad. I think I am trying to be better, and that to be better, I should be better in this way. I think that I am failing at this, and I think that I do not want to fail at that. And instead of being controlled by others and religion and ethics and laws, that's useful. That's a start. But the point is yourself. It's like, how do you deal with an unjust law? Do you get angry at it? Do you get angry at the society and the people who put it into place and whatnot? Or is anger beside the point? Does getting angry at ICE, for example, stop them? Or does doing something stop them? And if you're doing something or you're not doing something, why is that? What about your own dictates are good or bad? I see on line, you know, I should do this, I should do that, this is bad, that's bad. And I may agree. But the point is that I agree or I disagree. Not that I am wrong because I disagree. No. It's a focus on me, because if I am not clear in my conscience, if I do not actually believe in the good and bad that I espouse, then I will never be happy in my actions, because I will never believe that I'm actually doing good. Even if I say it over and over and over again, what do I actually want? What actually matches me? What actually fulfills me? Who am I, regardless of the world? And he thinks that this will lead to an ethics which we can all agree on. I sort of see this as a bit like the need for a crisis of faith in a religion. I don't think you can actually believe. I guess I have strong doubts in the strength of a belief that has not been questioned. I have strong doubts in a moral system which does not have folk in the system asking, is there a better way? Is there a deeper issue? Is there a further reason that we can reach? But, you know, it comes down to him for reason and effectiveness. How, like, okay, if I want to change somebody's mind, does screaming and yelling at them and telling them they're bad do anything? Or does it only hurt them and harm them and get them to hide, get them to lie, to please me? When they don't actually believe what I'm telling them, when they don't actually transfer their religion, when they don't actually transfer their ethics, when they say the right things but don't do the right things in the privacy of their own home. No, instead, if I want to convince someone, I have to understand them. I have to empathize with them. I have to say, this is why I think you are wrong. And then I have to get them to agree for themselves in their own hearts they are wrong, and then they change. But if they're just agreeing for the formality, they're agreeing because they want me to praise them, then eventually the whole thing falls apart. Eventually their true ethics come out. And the same thing happens with us. We may feel ourselves as Christian or Islamic or Jewish or Buddhist and whatnot, but it's one thing to say I believe in something, or it's one thing to say that I feel this is right. It's another thing to do it. The number of people I've met, for example, who say something along the lines of, I would be vegetarian, but I love meat too much. And I always find this incredibly strange, right? To say, well, morally, I think being vegetarian is better. But personally, I like meat more. I like meat too much, so I can't be vegetarian. So I'm choosing the bad thing. And I'm like, no, you aren't choosing the bad thing. You are choosing what you believe is good. You are choosing your own conscience. You're choosing the needs of your own constitution. You're saying, hey, I feel that I, as a person, need meat. And that's fine. That's you. But I, as a person, do not. And we can coexist here. You don't need to make excuses for how you believe. You don't need to say, well, you know, I think it's good that we help those starving children in Africa, but, you know, I can't. Like, well, then don't. And don't sit there and whine about how I would be good if only I could, or I would be good if I was a different person, or I would be good if I had the capability. No, be good or be bad. Be yourself. Don't give excuses, because excuses weaken your own reason, weaken your own heart. Right? It's hypocritical, and hypocrisy is weakness that will fall apart one day. Okay, 42. All of us are working together toward one great end, some knowingly and purposefully, others blindly. I think it was Heraclitus who said that even in our sleep we labor to build the world. Everyone participates in his own way, critics included, as well as those who dig in their heels and imagine they are resisting change. The world needs us all. We're all trying to do something. No person who is alive seriously and completely sits here and allows the world to pass them by. Even monks eat. Even monks are a demonstration that where people can see them. Even monks will talk to those who speak to them. I will go out and have a temple master who explains on TV what the ideas are. And for everyone else, the people who go to work, the ones who play games, you are trying to influence the world around you. You're trying to make it do something. Sometimes that's big. You are Greta Thunberg trying to save the planet. Other times that's small. You are a relative of mine at a job, just making a living and taking your wife or husband out, once a month for a date, okay? And you're saying, okay, I'm just trying to do my best in the world. At work, we interact with people again and again and again, and we try to be nice, we try to be kind, we try to get them to work with us, not against us. The college professor who stands up in front of the class and teaches, the student who sits in the class and learns, they're each trying in their own way to do something, to exist. And I think what can strike people sometimes is the feeling that they are worthless, the feeling that they can't change anything, the feeling that they could be replaced by anyone at all, right? You're doing work in a factory, and do you take pride in your work? Do you feel, I am doing something, I'm creating something? Or do you feel that you are simply a throwaway line, a coarse jest? Are you a joke? Is your life a joke? Or is your life a noble quest? Is your life at least the peasant growing food for his family? Is your life that of the artist creating for the future? Is your life a politician writing laws? Is your life a boss ensuring that the work of the company and the group is efficient and directed? Are you a clown on a streetcar in Oaxaca, making a living, but also making a living by bringing joy to people? He says, be sure in this great drama to be more than a throwaway line or a coarse jest, which means find some uniqueness in your life, find some purpose, find some pride for life. Because if you don't have that, then why are you even here? What are you doing? No person, there's this saying, no person believes himself evil. Well, there are people, I think, who believe themselves worthless and pointless and nothing. How many times have I said, I am nothing, I am no one? Who am I to have an opinion? Just an idiot babbling about things he doesn't understand. Well, at least I'm doing that. Instead of sitting there silent on my bed, drowning in my own depression and sorrows, I may be an idiot in what I do, but I can be proud about my idiocy because I am doing it on purpose. And with that purpose, I think you manage something which is very human. Manage something which is very reasonable to think that there is a reason I am doing this. And what it may be exactly is unclear. But, there is still a part of me which says, do this, which says, look back on the videos you've made and the ideas you've talked about and feel a sense of pride in them. And when I do this one, when I talk to a camera now, when I record myself now, then I will know I can take pride in that. As I'm doing it, I know what the result is. And even if the power goes out, even if the recording is forgotten, I will have walked another step on the path. So if your life is such that you don't feel it's meaningful at all, then find a meaning, make a meaning, because without that meaning, without that pride in who you do and how you can achieve, in your identity and who you protect or who you help or the noise and fury, sounds signifying nothing. The timpani beat of rain on the water. At least rain makes a sound. At least falling water will be used by something somewhere as a means for life. The most forgettable life of a refugee in a camp, bereft of family, of home, of job, of hope, still, Marcus thinks, have something to it. If you haven't offed yourself, then why? Right? There is a reason. Find that reason. And it may not be in what you achieve. It is instead in who you are, in what you are doing, or what you hope you will do. And trace towards that hope. Shut your eyes, close your mouth, and keep walking. Because honestly, what else is there? It's all dust in the end. We may as well do what we want while we're here. Know that in time, those things toward which we move come to be. What is expected of you, he says? The very actions you have taken. By taking them, you have reached your goal and achieved your purpose. What does a rock do? It sits there. What does a bird do? It flies. What does a human do? It tries. And why try? 51. The happiness of those who want to be popular depends on others. The happiness of those who seek pleasure fluctuates with moods outside their control. But the happiness of the wise grows out of their own free acts. Think of methods to be happy. What makes you happy? Good food, good drink, good friends, good cheer, a purpose in life, a pride. And he says, if you were happy because other people are around you and doing things and praising you, well, then your happiness is reliant upon them and they can change their minds. And so all you are involved in doing is a sycophantic effort at all times, begging for attention, begging for them to pay attention to you instead of you paying attention to them. And I think that, there are people who like to be popular. There are people who love to be liked. There are people who enjoy society and people and who have many friends and many acquaintances that are always extroverted, meeting someone, talking with someone, learning something about someone, going out and making new friends. And those are oftentimes wonderful people. It's just that we can ask, why are you doing this? Are you doing this because you are lonely? Are you doing this because you need other people? Are you doing this because you're addicted to praise? Are you doing this because you don't want to be alone with your own thoughts? Or are you doing this because you honestly like people? Because, the pursuing extroverted relationships makes me feel like I'm achieving something. I'm not only making friends, I'm linking people together. I am making strangers interact. I am learning all the time. And it's not about being popular, it's about connecting. He says the happiness of those who seek pleasure fluctuates with moods outside their control. If I seek pleasure, right, if I'm onto wine or drugs or plays or music, what happens when those things leave? What happens when those are gone? What happens if I rely on an external source for my happiness? Then I better be rich. Right? I better live in a society that says what makes me happy is okay and accepted. I better live in such a way that I always have my happiness on hand. I better live in such a way that I don't need to look at my own sadness. I don't need to confront my own problems. I can always have a bottle of wine to hand, right? I can always listen to, when I'm sad, I can listen to music and that makes me feel happy. That works sometimes. That can be a coping mechanism. But if you rely upon it too much, if you're only happy when that music is going through you, then something is wrong. And so he says, the happiness of the wise grows out of their own free acts. Instead of focusing my happiness on others' reflections upon me, how popular I am, how wonderful or my family is, how rich my company is, these all can go away. They are not, they may make you happy, but they are not reliable. Instead of focusing my happiness on pleasures, on food and drink and gold, these can go away. These can fade. It is not reliable. But if I focus my happiness on me, if I say I am happy because of what I do, because of my duty, because I know who I am and what I am, and it is the attempt to make a better life. It is the attempt to build a wall. It is the attempt to find love. It is the attempt to write poetry. It is the attempt to learn and to speak, the attempt to speak, which I find happiness in. Then I can always come back to that. No one can silence me. No one can make me stop searching for love or wisdom. Only I can do that. So I hold my own happiness in my own hands, upon as solid a foundation as can be. Not others, but me. It's not a quick path. It's not an easy path. It's not a path with a clear goal. But it is, he thinks, a strong path. It is a stable path. It is a reasonable path. And from this starting point, we can go anywhere. Slowly, plodding like the turtle, never quite stopping. Okay. So 57 here. Honey tastes bitter to people with jaundice. Those infected with rabies are overcome by fear. And to little boys, a ball is a priceless treasure. So why do I lose my temper? Do errors in judgment exercise any less control over us than bile in the jaundice or virus in the rabid? Essentially, I am an emotional person, right? But this does not mean I need to be overcome by my emotions. When I'm angry, certain words and phrases will set me off even more. When I'm sad, certain thoughts and desires will make me sadder. When I am confused, certain events make me more confused. This is a matter for him of being infected. This is sort of a sickness. This is a if you've ever heard this term, seeing red when you're angry, and it's happened to me 2 or 3 times. Seeing red. Although it felt more like seeing black at least once. And that is a part of who we are, what we are. But be careful of acting differently when you are angry. Be careful of acting differently when you are sad, or of interpreting others' words differently because you're happy. Instead, see things for what they are. If you are trying to understand how to interpret something, a phrase, look at it when you're angry, look at it when you're happy, look at it when you're sad, and attempt to reason your way through this. Instead of reacting immediately, "Oh, how dare you!" or "Oh my gosh, I'm such a failure." Stop, think, calm down. You are sick, you are worried, you are angry, sad, mad, glad, jaundiced. And sometimes the words may be bitter to you. When you're angry, or you're hating something, or you're feeling horrible about yourself, advice sucks. Right? So you understand what you did. So you did this wrong. I'm going, I don't need you to tell me that I did something wrong. I need to feel better. Someone doesn't yell at you. And that isn't useful. Instead, how do we remove ourselves from our emotions? How do we remove ourselves from being confused, from misinterpreting? How many times have you seen this little trope, right? Person comes in a room. Person A is in a room. Person B comes in the room. Person A says something nice and sweet. Person B snaps back. Person A is like, I was just trying to be nice. I was just trying to be funny. Person B says, it wasn't nice. It wasn't funny. Or this is not the time. But what's the correct response? Okay. Sorry I snapped at you. I'm feeling very mad. Or this terrible thing just happened. Tell me the joke tomorrow. Maybe I'll laugh. Okay? Or I didn't mean to take offense at what you said. Upon reflection now, there's you gave good advice. It's just that I wasn't prepared to receive it at the time. And for Marcus Aurelius, don't lose your temper. Don't get too happy. Don't get too sad. Instead, seek this sort of middle path. Seek this calmness. Understand things reasonably. Explain. Think about. Don't act too fast or too extravagantly. Now, there are people who do act extravagantly and fast, or people like me who can be very emotional. There are people who can be 10 times more emotional than me. There are people who can be 10 times emotional less compared to me. And I have times where I'm more emotional and less emotional and whatnot. But do I have the capability to be reasonable at all times and under all emotions? Do I have the capability of understanding clearly what people are saying and what is happening? And if I'm angry, do I understand I'm angry and how that affects the way I see the world, or the way I act? If it does, if I know myself better, if I know that I am jaundiced or sick, then I can work around that fact. If I know I'm angry or sad, then perhaps what I need to do is make myself not angry or not sad, or I just need some time, or I need to understand that the rhymes which affected me so heartily yesterday now do not, and in a week will affect me heartily again because of who I am and the world around me and how I act at this time. But even though that is the case, what do I control? What can I affect? What can I find happiness and worth in myself, my own reason? And do I ever have cause to feel ashamed for my actions or my thoughts? Yes. And we should endeavor, I think is what Marcus is saying here, not to do that. Do not do anything of which you would be ashamed of hearing about yourself when you were calm. Did I snap? Was I angry? Was I depressed? Was I extravagantly happy? Look at it all with a balanced eye and understand that tomorrow I could die. So what do I want my words to be? Do I want to be the angry, horrible person? Do I want to be the sad, depressed one? Do I want to be the happy one that is fake? Or do I want to be the happy one that is real, that is honest and true to myself and who I am, which is prepared for death at any moment? Because I never stopped bettering myself. Even when I'm angry, even when I'm bad. At least I am better than madness and chaos. I am reason and direction